Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about why philosophers should be physically fit. All right, so here's the deal. If you're someone that's trying to do philosophy, you should be in shape. And there are the obvious reasons for being in shape, which are, physical health, just maintaining, longevity, maintaining good health overall, strong immune system. It's going to be hard to do a lot of thinking if you're sick all the time or if you just feel like crap generally. But also, there are cognitive benefits as well. You can think better, you can think clearer, you can even think faster, in my opinion, when you're more in shape than when you're not. I've, fluctuated between being in shape and being not in shape at various times in my life due to different kinds of things, illness, just slacking off, various kinds of things. And I can definitely tell that when I'm in shape and when I'm doing some sort of regular exercise, whether that's weight training or cardiovascular training, I feel clearer. I can think faster. I can think better on my feet. The words that I'm looking for come a lot sooner. And overall, obviously on top of all that, I'm just in a better mood, and that makes for, more productivity. But besides the obvious physical and cognitive benefits, there are more serious reasons for why you should, if you're doing philosophy, be in shape. It doesn't really make sense at all for someone who is trying to be a serious thinker to not be in shape, actually, in my opinion. I think that, unfortunately, for us in our culture, we have this idea of philosophers, of thinking people, intellectuals in general, as these sort of, scrawny or overweight nerds who sort of neglect their bodies, and you get this sort of homunculi type archetype of someone with just like a giant head and kind of a small, neglected, frail, physicality. And that's almost exactly the opposite of what actually is optimal. Now, obviously, you don't want to be spending every single day, every minute of every day in the gym. You're not really necessarily doing a lot of deep, productive thinking while you're in there. But if you want to be at peak performance, not only physically but also intellectually, you should have some sort of regular fitness regimen. And I'm not really dogmatic about this. I don't think that it needs to necessarily be weight training. It could also be cardiovascular training. It could also be a sport. As long as it's something that you're practicing regularly and that keeps your body and your mind in shape. And this is really an old idea. It's not my idea, certainly. As many of you may know, a lot of the ancients, the ancient Greeks in particular, believed that physical fitness was really something that philosophers should be practicing. Thucydides said that the society that separates its scholars from its warriors will have its thinking done by cowards and its fighting done by fools, right? So you need to be both the warrior and the thinker, and the scholar. You need to be the scholar and the warrior, the consummate scholar and warrior. And there's really not any way around it. I think, unfortunately for us, we're living in sort of a Christian or post-Christian milieu, depending on what your particular perspective on that is here in the West. And unfortunately, one of the things that developed out of that was this idea that thinking and sort of being in your head and having a lot of ideas is this sort of transcendental thing. And so there's the material and the transcendental, and they're sort of separate. And this comes out of Descartes. You've got sort of the dualist thinking, the separation between mind and body. But of course, anyone who thinks for just a few seconds about that knows that that's nonsense. Your mind is in your body, right? So anything that you do in terms of physical inputs to the system that is your body is going to have an effect on your mind. We think about this in terms of diet, but it's also true in terms of physical exercise. When you're doing physical exercise, really what you're doing is you're entraining your nervous system. You're giving particular inputs to your nervous system that have an effect on not only, the muscles and the organs, but also the brain itself. And your nervous system is not just your brain and your spinal cord. Those are, a large part of it, but it's actually, all of your nerves throughout your entire body that control your muscles, that control your organs. That's all part of your nervous system. And so whenever you're doing physical training, what you're doing is you're doing an embodied type of learning. This is in a type of embodied learning, and what you're doing is you're entraining your muscles. You're giving yourself not only muscle memory, obviously. If you're a tennis player and, the first time you hit that tennis ball, it's going to be very hard for you to hit it, and it's going to, definitely be hard for you to hit it correctly. But after thousands and thousands of tries practicing on that, you're going to get good at hitting that tennis ball, and there's going to be muscle memory there. But there's also a type of learning that's just going on whenever you're doing a kind of physical fitness. And so I think part of doing philosophy is not just abstract thinking in a way that's separate, just sort of book learning and things like that, but it's also about living through an embodied practice. And of course, there's also the discipline and rigor aspect to this as well. You're honing your discipline, you're honing your self-control, your rigor by putting yourself through this process of physical regimentation. And that's going to, of course, make you a better thinker as well. The fact that you have that self-knowledge and that discipline, and you've made it a daily practice. It's important to remember that philosophy was not originally about just thinking. It was actually about doing. The proper philosopher is somebody who lives out their philosophy in their life. They don't simply postulate ideas and put them forward and then hypocritically go and do the opposite in their real life, so that it's just simply a projection of what they would like to be or what they think other people should be doing. It's actually somebody who lives out what it is that they're trying to communicate to the world. And Socrates said that no citizen has a right to be an amateur in the matter of physical training. What a disgrace it is for a man to grow old without ever seeing the beauty and strength of which his body is capable. Right? So this is another angle as well, which is that in order to realize your full potential, in order to understand what it is that you could actually be as a human being, physical fitness and physical training and optimizing your body is going to be part of that, because you want to know what it is that you could become. I think in some ways, people who don't engage in this kind of physical training are self-limited necessarily. They're going to be limited in their thinking because they're limited also in their doing. If you're someone who's just sort of neglecting their body and trying to do philosophy, well, then there's a whole range of experience, of motion, of embodiment that you're going to be unfamiliar with, that somebody who is doing those things is going to understand on a deep intuitive level because it's been ingrained into their nervous system. And of course, there's also the beauty aspect, right? So they had, the ancients that is, had an appreciation for beauty that gets lost on us a lot these days. And of course, the bodybuilders, the people who really care about aesthetics, you would say, well, they're worshiping beauty as well, but it's sort of a vain type of beauty. But I think that really what this quote from Socrates is getting at is that you should have, in order to cultivate an appreciation for beauty, you need to have it around you in your own environment. And you can't always control your outside environment. You can't always control where you're living, what your city looks like. The circumstances that you're in particular might be kind of ugly. But one thing you can control is the beauty and the grace that you have with your body. And physical training is going to do that. And it will naturally create a kind of appreciation for the aesthetics that I think goes beyond just vanity, because you're beautifying yourself, which, you can say is kind of narcissistic or whatever you want to say about it. But ultimately what it is you're creating you're cultivating a type of refinement, a type of appreciation for the physical form, for the form of human beings, and for yourself. So it really is a kind of self-love and a kind of self-appreciation. The other aspect I would say about this is that I think of physical fitness as a form of self-care. These days we think of self-care as mostly a kind of very lazy, type of withdrawing from activity where you just sort of like take a bath and maybe read a good book and binge Netflix for a few days or something like that. And I actually think that the latter on that list is actually more a form of self-abuse than self-care. you're not really improving yourself or making yourself better by sitting around and just watching Netflix all the time. Maybe you're learning a little bit of something. But it is a kind of self-care to take that time out of your day that you could be spending doing all kinds of other things, and to just use it in order to grow your physical capacities, in order to treat your body well, and in order to continue that journey of lifelong self-improvement. I don't think that physical fitness is something that should be limited to young people, or even people that are perfectly able. I think that anyone who is interested in seeing what it is that they can become, and really wants to take care of themselves, should find a way to do that. You can do it through weight training, you can do it through aerobic training, you can do it through yoga, you can do it through sports. However you want to do it is up to you, but I think everyone should find a way that allows them to stay physically fit and appreciate what it is that their body can do. And it can also be a meditative exercise as well for anyone that's more cerebrally minded. You can use that time when you're either running or in the gym or whatever to really try to become present to the moment. A lot of people like to listen to music. I listen to music, and I listen to audiobooks as well when I'm working out, but sometimes I just take it as an opportunity to really zone out on my thoughts, and it is a kind of relief from the constant stimulation, the constant distraction that is normally in our environment. Now, obviously, you're doing something, so that thing that you're doing, the activity, is keeping you a little bit distracted. But usually, it's if it's kind of repetitive, you can sort of zone out, and you can get into a place where it does become a very meditative type exercise. So those are my thoughts on it. I think that anyone who's serious about philosophy should also be serious about physical fitness. That doesn't mean you have to go become a bodybuilder or try to become some sort of high-level athlete, but it is something that I think you should incorporate into your life, and you should view it not as a separate thing from your philosophical activities, but actually as a very, very crucial part of being a fully integrated human being. That's all I got for you guys today. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.